remained calm during a robbery. The knife was already at her throat when Aria Wells asked the masked man if he'd try the apple pie. Blood was dripping from where the blade had nicked her skin. Customers were sobbing on the floor, and she was offering dessert recommendations like she was taking his order. The robber's hand was shaking so badly the knife kept cutting deeper, but Aria's voice never wavered. The pie's fresh. Made it myself 3 hours ago. You look like you haven't eaten in days. And in the back booth, Roman Volkov stopped mid-sip of his coffee and realized he was watching someone even more dangerous than himself. Stay until the end, because this woman is not what she seems. Hit subscribe right now. Comment where you're watching from. Let's go. 60 seconds earlier, Aria had been wiping down the counter at Murphy's all-night diner with methodical precision. It was 2:47 in the morning, and the rain was hammering against the windows like it was trying to break through. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in that sickly yellow glow that made even fresh food look like it had been sitting out for days. There were only 4 customers in the place. Mr. Patterson, an elderly regular who came in every night at midnight and fell asleep over his decoff by 1. A teenage runaway picking at cold fries in the corner booth, trying to make a $3 meal last until sunrise. A young mother with a fussy baby, bouncing the infant gently while her own coffee went cold. And the man in booth 7. The man in booth 7 was different from the usual crowd. His suit was dark and expensive, the kind that cost more than Murphy's diner made in a month. He had sharp features, black hair styled with precision, and he sat with his back to the wall facing the entrance. A tactical position, the position of someone who'd learned to never let anyone approach from behind. He'd ordered black coffee an hour ago and hadn't touched it. Just sat there watching everything with the focused intensity of a predator studying prey. Aria had noticed him immediately because noticing threats was how you stayed alive. She'd clocked the scars on his knuckles when she'd poured his coffee. Old scars, the kind you got from hitting people repeatedly over years. No wedding ring, no watch, no jewelry at all except for a gold signet ring on his right pinky finger. Professional. She'd kept her distance after that initial interaction, but she could feel his eyes on her as she moved through her shift. It wasn't the creepy attention she sometimes got from drunk customers. It was assessment. He was studying her the way she'd learned to study potential threats during 3 tours in Afghanistan. The door exploded open at 2:48. No warning, no jingling bell, just the sound of wood and glass rattling as a man in a ski mask burst through like a bomb going off. He was soaking wet from the rain, wearing a dark hoodie that clung to his frame, and he had 2 weapons, a metal bat in his left hand and a hunting knife in his right. He didn't yell, didn't announce himself, just charged straight at Aria like she was the only target that mattered. She barely had time to set down the coffee pot before he was on her. His hand grabbed a fistful of her hair and yanked her forward over the counter. The knife came up to her throat in one smooth motion, and she felt the sting as the blade bit into her skin. Not deep, just enough to draw blood, enough to show he was serious. "Where's the safe?" he hissed, his voice cracking with desperation. "I know diners keep a safe in the back." "Where is it?" Aria didn't scream, didn't struggle. She went completely still and spoke in a voice that was eerily calm considering the circumstances. "There is no safe. The register has about $200. That's all we keep on hand." The knife pressed harder. More blood trickled down her neck, warm against her cold skin. "Liar. Where's the money?" That's when Aria said something that made everyone in the diner hold their breath. "You're going to bleed out before I do." The robber froze. "What?" "You've been stabbed." Aria continued in that same flat, clinical tone. "Left side, under your ribs. You're leaving a blood trail from the door to here. Someone got you before you came to this diner. Based on how much you're bleeding through your hoodie, you have maybe 10 minutes before you pass out from blood loss." The robber's eyes went wide. He looked down and seemed to notice for the first time that his entire left side was soaked, not with rain, but with blood. His blood, dark and thick, spreading across the fabric. Panic replaced aggression on his face. "I need money for a doctor. I need cash. Let me go." Aria interrupted, her voice dropping even lower, and I'll stop the bleeding. Or keep cutting me and we both die on this floor. Your choice. The standoff lasted 3 heartbeats. The knife remained at her throat. Blood continued to drip. The baby was crying. Mr. Patterson had woken up and was staring in confused horror. The teenage girl was sobbing quietly in the corner. And in booth 7, Roman Volkov shifted slightly. His hand moved toward his jacket in a motion so subtle most people wouldn't have caught it. But Arya caught it. Her eyes flicked to him for just a fraction of a second, and she gave the tiniest shake of her head. Don't. The robber noticed the movement, spun halfway toward Roman with wild, drug-addled eyes. You move, and I kill her. I swear to God, I'll cut her throat. Roman raised his hands slowly, showing empty palms. But his eyes never left Arya. He was watching her with the intensity of someone witnessing something extraordinary. Arya spoke again, drawing the robber's attention back to her. He won't move, because he wants to see what I do next. With her free hand, moving slowly and deliberately, she reached under the counter and pulled out a red first aid kit. The kind with the white cross on the front. She set it on the counter between them. I was an army medic, she said. 3 combat tours in Afghanistan. I can pack that wound and you'll live long enough to get somewhere safe. Or you can waste time threatening me and bleed out in my diner. Either way, I'm not giving you money that doesn't exist. The robber was breathing hard now, hyperventilating. His grip on the knife loosened just slightly. Not much, but enough. Why would you help me? He asked, suspicion and desperation warring in his voice. Arya's response was immediate and cold. Because I don't get paid enough to mop blood off this floor. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the robber released her hair and stumbled backward, lowering the knife slightly. He was swaying on his feet now, the blood loss catching up to him. Arya didn't waste time. She grabbed the first aid kit, came around the counter, and approached him like she was approaching a wounded animal. Calm, steady, projecting confidence and control. Lift your shirt, she commanded. He did. Beneath the soaked fabric was a stab wound that looked angry and deep, blood pulsing out with each heartbeat. Arya assessed it with the practiced eye of someone who'd seen hundreds of combat wounds. 3 inches deep. Looks like it missed your kidney by about half an inch. You need a hospital. Can't go to a hospital, the robber panted. They'll call the cops. They'll ask questions. Then find a veterinarian, Arya replied, packing the wound with gauze from the kit. She worked quickly and efficiently, her movements betraying years of training. Vets don't report stab wounds, and they're open 24 hours in the industrial district. She tore medical tape with her teeth and secured the packing in place. It wasn't a permanent solution, but it would buy him time. You're done here, she said, stepping back. Go. The robber stared at her like she was a ghost, or maybe a demon. You're insane. You're absolutely insane. And you're dying. Move. He stumbled toward the door, leaving a trail of blood on the linoleum. The door slammed behind him, and he disappeared into the rain. Arya walked to the door, locked it, and flipped the sign to closed. Then she turned to face the terrified customers. Her neck was still bleeding, but she seemed completely unbothered by it. Everyone okay? She asked. Coffee's on the house. She walked back to the counter, grabbed a bar towel, and pressed it against her neck. Her hands were perfectly steady as she poured herself a cup of coffee. That's when she felt the presence behind her. Roman Volkov had approached the counter silently. He stood there studying her with an expression that was impossible to read. You just saved the man who tried to kill you, he said. Arya took a sip of coffee. I stopped him from dying on my shift. Different thing. Most people would have let him bleed. She met his gaze directly. I'm not most people. Roman leaned forward on the counter, his voice dropping low. That wasn't a random robbery. That man was sent here to test you. Arya's expression didn't change, but her grip tightened on the coffee cup. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You knew he'd been stabbed before he walked through that door, which means you were expecting something tonight. The silence stretched between them like a loaded gun. Roman reached into his jacket and pulled out a black business card with gold embossing. He placed it on the counter. I need someone who doesn't panic under pressure. Someone who can handle violence without making it worse. $3,000 a week. Cash. I have a job. You have a death sentence, Roman said quietly. Someone's hunting you. I can protect you. Aria's phone buzzed in her apron. She pulled it out. One new message. Unknown number. The photo loaded slowly. A teenage girl. Red backpack. Walking out of high school. A red circle drawn around her head. Below it, 48 hours. Aria's face drained of color. The phone nearly slipped from her hands. Roman saw the shift. Saw the mask crack. Who is she? Aria looked up, and in her eyes was pure terror. My sister. And if I don't give them what they want, they're going to kill her. Roman Volkov didn't ask what they wanted. He didn't ask who they were. He simply reached across the counter, took the phone from Aria's trembling hands, and studied the photo with the calm focus of a man who'd seen 1,000 threats just like it. 48 hours, he said, handing the phone back. That means they're confident. They think you're alone. They think you're weak. He paused, his dark eyes locking onto hers. Are you? Aria's jaw clenched. The fear that had cracked through her mask for just a moment was gone, replaced by something harder. Something that looked like rage wrapped in ice. No, she said quietly. I'm not weak. I'm just out of options. Roman pulled out his own phone and made a call. He didn't step away for privacy, didn't lower his voice, just stood there at the counter while Aria listened. Victor, I need a protective detail on a teenage girl. Lincoln High School. Name is, he looked at Aria expectantly. Lily Wells. Aria said, her voice barely above a whisper. 16. Brown hair. Always wears a red backpack. She takes the bus home at 3:15. Roman repeated the information into the phone. I want 2 men on her at all times. Shadow protocol. She doesn't see them, but nobody gets within 10 feet of her without going through you first. Effective immediately. He ended the call and pocketed his phone. Arya stared at him like he'd just performed a magic trick. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. I know enough, Roman replied. I know you're former military. I know you've been working at this diner for 6 months under a name that doesn't match your social security number. I know you moved to Boston from nowhere with no history, no references, and no past. He leaned closer. And I know that someone very dangerous is looking for something you have, which makes you interesting. Interesting enough to risk your men, interesting enough to invest in. Roman picked up the black business card he'd placed on the counter earlier and slid it toward her again. The question is whether you're smart enough to accept help when it's offered. Arya looked down at the card. Gold lettering on matte black. Volkov Securities. A phone number. Nothing else. What do you want from me? She asked. The truth, Roman said simply, starting with why someone would threaten a 16-year-old girl to get to a waitress who makes $9 an hour. Arya was silent for a long moment. The diner was still locked, the other customers having quietly slipped out through the back exit after she'd given them the all clear. It was just the two of them now, standing in the flickering fluorescent light with rain hammering against the windows. Finally, she spoke. My real name is Arya Wells. That part's true. The rest. She took a breath. I was Army. Combat medic. Did 3 tours in Afghanistan, like I said. But that's not why they're after me. She pulled the towel away from her neck. The bleeding had stopped, leaving a thin red line across her throat like a necklace made of violence. My father was Lieutenant Colonel James Wells. He ran logistics for a private military contractor called Sentinel Defense. They operated in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. Officially, they provided security for convoys and supply lines. Unofficially, she paused. They were moving something else. Something worth billions. Roman's expression didn't change, but Arya saw the sharpening of his focus. The way a predator's eyes narrowed when prey revealed itself to be more than expected. 6 months ago, my father tried to blow the whistle, Arya continued. He'd found evidence that Sentinel wasn't just protecting shipments. They were stealing them. Weapons, medical supplies. But the real prize was intelligence. Encrypted data on Afghan resistance networks, CIA asset lists, locations of hidden caches. Information that could get hundreds of people killed if it fell into the wrong hands. Let me guess, Roman said. It fell into the wrong hands. My father tried to stop it. He gathered evidence, built a case, and was about to hand everything over to military investigators. Arya's voice went flat, emotionless. 3 days before his meeting, his car exploded in a parking garage outside Fort Bragg. Official report said faulty fuel line. I was the only one who knew the truth. She reached into her apron and pulled out a small USB drive on a chain around her neck. It had been hidden under her uniform shirt this whole time. He sent this to me the night before he died. His insurance policy. Every document, every transaction, every name involved in the theft. Bank accounts in the Caymans. Shell companies in Luxembourg. And the final destination for everything they stole. She looked Roman dead in the eye. A weapons dealer in St. Petersburg named Dmitry Sokolov. Roman went very still. The kind of stillness that preceded violence. You're telling me, he said slowly, that you have evidence linking a Russian arms dealer to the theft of classified U.S. military intelligence, and you've been hiding it while working at a diner in Boston? I've been hiding it while trying to figure out who I can trust, Arya corrected. Sentinel has people everywhere. Defense contractors, politicians, local police. I couldn't go to the authorities because I don't know which ones are compromised. I couldn't run because they just find Lily and use her to flush me out. Her hand closed around the USB drive. So I stayed invisible. Worked a job where nobody looks twice at the help. Kept my head down and waited. Waited for what? For them to make a mistake. For an opportunity. For anything that would give me leverage. She met his gaze. Or for someone dangerous enough to protect my sister while I finish what my father started. Roman was quiet for a moment, processing. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. Not the predatory smirk from earlier, but something genuine. Something almost impressed. You have no idea who I am, do you? He asked. I know you run shipping operations. I know you have connections to unions and construction. I know. I'm Bratva, Roman interrupted. Russian organized crime. My family has controlled Boston's ports for 3 generations. We move cargo that doesn't appear on manifests. We have relationships with people in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and every major city between here and Vladivostok. He leaned forward, including Dmitry Sokolov. Arya's blood turned to ice. You work with him. I know him, Roman corrected. There's a difference. Sokolov is old guard, ruthless, connected to intelligence services going back to the Soviet era. If he's involved in this, then Sentinel didn't just steal from the U.S. military. They sold American secrets to Russian intelligence. Which means if I expose this, I'm not just taking down a private military contractor, Arya said, understanding dawning. I'm exposing an international espionage operation. Which means, Roman continued, that the people hunting you aren't just corporate mercenaries. They're backed by intelligence agencies on both sides who want this buried. He straightened. You don't need a bodyguard, Arya. You need an army. I need my sister safe, Arya shot back. I need 48 hours to get her somewhere they can't find her. After that, I don't care what happens to me. Roman pulled out his phone again and made another call. This time he did step away, speaking in rapid Russian that Arya couldn't follow. The conversation lasted less than a minute. When he returned, his expression was unreadable. Your sister will be picked up from school tomorrow by 2 of my men. They'll tell her there's been a family emergency and that you sent them. She'll be taken to a safe house in New Hampshire. No phones. No contact with the outside world. She'll stay there until this is over. And how does this end? Arya asked. You still haven't told me what you want. Roman's smile returned, sharper this time. I want Dmitry Sokolov. I want the evidence that links him to this operation. And I want to be the one who decides what happens to that information. You want to blackmail him. I want leverage, Roman corrected. Sokolov has been expanding into territories that belong to my family. He's been undercutting our operations, buying off our contacts, making moves that threaten everything we've built. If I have proof that he's involved in selling American military secrets, I own him. He backs off, or I hand the evidence to people who will make sure he never operates again. Arya studied him carefully. And what do I get? Your sister's safety, my protection, and when this is over, a new identity for both of you. Clean documents. No trail. You disappear so completely that even intelligence agencies won't find you. He extended his hand. That's my offer. Take it or leave it. Arya looked at his hand, at the scars on his knuckles, at the gold signet ring that marked him as someone who'd built power through violence and strategy. She thought about Lily, about the red circle drawn around her sister's head like a target, about 48 hours that could turn into 48 seconds if she made the wrong choice. She took his hand. Deal. Roman's grip was firm, possessive. Good. Because the people who sent that robber tonight, they're going to realize he failed. And when they do, they'll send someone better. As if summoned by his words, Arya's phone buzzed again. Another message. Same unknown number. This time it wasn't a photo. Just text. We know you're not alone anymore. The man in the suit won't save you. 36 hours. Arya showed Roman the message. He read it, and his expression went cold. They're watching right now, he said quietly. He moved to the window and scanned the dark street outside. Rain was still falling in sheets, turning the parking lot into a maze of shadows and distorted light. Across the street, barely visible through the downpour, was a black sedan. Engine running, windows tinted. It had been there when Roman arrived an hour ago, but he'd assumed it was just another late-night customer deciding whether to come in. Now he knew better. How many? Arya asked, moving to stand beside him. At least 2 in the car. Probably more in the area. Roman pulled his phone out and sent a quick text. My men are 3 minutes away. When they arrive, we move fast. You get in my car. We drive to my office. From there, we plan our next move. They'll follow us. I'm counting on it, Roman said. His hand moved to his jacket, and Arya saw the outline of a gun holstered at his ribs. Let them follow. Let them think they have the advantage. Then we show them what happens when you threaten my people. I'm not your people, Arya said. We just made a deal 5 seconds ago. Roman looked at her, and in his eyes was something fierce and possessive. You took my hand. You accepted my protection. That makes you mine. He turned back to the window. And I protect what's mine. 2 black SUVs pulled into the parking lot, moving fast. They positioned themselves between the diner and the sedan across the street. Men in dark suits emerged, moving with military precision. Roman opened the diner door. Time to go. Arya grabbed her jacket from behind the counter, leaving everything else. The apron, the towel stained with her blood, the coffee pot still half full. She followed Roman into the rain. They were halfway to his car when the sedan's doors opened. 2 men stepped out, both armed, both moving with the kind of confidence that came from knowing they had backup. Roman's men immediately formed a barrier, hands inside their jackets. One of the men from the sedan raised his hands in a gesture of false peace. We're not here for trouble, Mr. Volkov. We just want the girl. The girl has a name, Roman said, his voice carrying across the parking lot despite the rain. And she's under my protection now. You don't know what you're getting into, the man replied. This is bigger than your little Boston operation. Walk away, and we forget this happened. Roman's response was to pull his gun, not pointing it yet, just holding it at his side. A promise. I don't walk away, he said. And you have 3 seconds to get back in that car before my men turn this parking lot into a crime scene. The 2 men exchanged glances. They were outgunned, and they knew it. But they didn't move. Your funeral, one of them said. He pulled a phone from his pocket and made a call. Spoke 2 words. Escalate. Now. Then both men got back in the sedan and drove away. Arya felt dread settle in her stomach like a stone. What does escalate mean? Roman's jaw clenched. It means they're done testing you. Whatever comes next won't be subtle. He opened the car door for her. Get in. We need to move your sister tonight. 48 hours just became 12. As Arya slid into the passenger seat, she looked back at Murphy's all-night diner. The place where she'd been invisible for 6 months. The place where she'd thought she could hide. The neon sign flickered in the rain, casting red and blue shadows across the wet pavement. She had a feeling she'd never see it again. Roman got in the driver's seat and started the engine. As they pulled out of the parking lot, Arya's phone buzzed one more time. She didn't want to look, but she did. The message was simple, chilling. Lily leaves school at 3:15. We'll be waiting. Arya's hands started shaking. Not from fear, from rage. They're going after her tomorrow, she said, her voice hollow. During school pickup, in front of everyone. Roman's response was to press the accelerator harder. The car surged forward into the night. Then we get there first, he said, and we show them why that was a mistake. But as they disappeared into the rain-soaked streets of Boston, neither of them saw the third vehicle, the one that had been parked 2 blocks away, watching everything. Inside, a woman with silver hair and cold eyes made a phone call. Volkov has the package, she said. Initiate Protocol 7. I want them both alive. The girl is secondary. Wells has the drive, and that's all that matters. She ended the call and smiled. The game had just begun. Roman's office wasn't an office. It was a fortress disguised as a shipping company headquarters in the industrial district. 3 stories of reinforced concrete and bulletproof glass. Security cameras on every corner. Armed guards at every entrance. Arya was sitting in a leather chair in Roman's private office on the top floor, watching him pace like a caged animal while he barked orders in Russian into his phone. It was 4:30 in the morning. Lily's school started in 4.5 hours. Your men are in position? Arya asked when he finally hung up. Victor and Alexei are outside her apartment building right now. The moment she leaves for school, they'll intercept. Tell her you sent them. Get her in the car before anyone else can make a move. Roman poured himself a drink from the crystal decanter on his desk. Vodka. He downed it in one swallow. But there's a problem. Of course there is. The people watching her aren't amateurs. I had my tech guy track the number that sent you those messages. It's bouncing through servers in 7 different countries. Military-grade encryption. Which means Sentinel has intelligence support. Arya finished. I told you. They have people everywhere. Roman slammed the glass down on his desk. Then we need to know exactly who we're dealing with. Give me the drive. Arya's hand instinctively went to the USB drive hanging around her neck. Not until Lily is safe. I can't protect either of you if I don't know what we're up against. And I can't trust that you won't just take what you need and cut me loose. Arya stood up, matching his intensity. My father died for what's on this drive. I'm not handing it over until I know my sister is untouchable. They stared at each other across the desk. 2 people who'd made a deal based on mutual need, but zero trust. Roman's phone rang. He answered it, listened for 10 seconds, and his face went dark. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. Fall back. Now. He hung up and looked at Arya with an expression that made her blood run cold. They hit Lily's apartment building 20 minutes ago. For men. Professional. They kicked in the door, tore the place apart looking for something, then left when they didn't find it. Arya felt her legs go weak. Was Lily there? No. She wasn't home. According to the neighbor, she's been staying with a friend for the past 3 nights. Girl named Jessica Romero. Lives in Dorchester. Relief flooded through Arya so powerfully she had to sit down. Lily was safe. For now. But here's the interesting part, Roman continued. They didn't just search the apartment. They planted surveillance equipment. Cameras. Audio. They're planning to grab her the moment she comes back. She won't go back, Arya said firmly. I'll call her. Tell her to stay with Jessica until... You can't call her. Roman's voice was hard. The moment you make contact, they'll triangulate your location and hers. These people have the resources to monitor every call, every text, every digital footprint you make. Arya's mind was racing. Then how do we warn her? We don't. We go old school. Roman walked to a wall safe hidden behind a painting, opened it, and pulled out a stack of cash and 2 handguns. He placed one of the guns on the desk in front of Arya. A Glock 19, the same model she'd used in the army. Victor will go to the friend's house in person. No phones, no digital trail. He'll bring Lily here before school even starts. And if Sentinel's people are already watching Jessica's house, then Victor will handle it. Roman's tone made it clear what handle meant. Arya picked up the Glock, checked the magazine, and tucked it into the back of her jeans. I'm going with him. No, you're staying here where it's secure. That's my sister out there. I'm not sitting in your fortress while someone else brings her to safety. Roman moved around the desk, so fast Arya didn't have time to react. He backed her against the wall, his hands on either side of her head, caging her in. Listen to me very carefully, he said, his voice low and dangerous. You are the only person who can access whatever's on that drive, which makes you the most valuable asset in this entire situation. If you die, your father's evidence dies with you. Lily becomes a loose, and they'll eliminate just to be thorough. So you're not going anywhere until this is over. Arya met his gaze without flinching. And when exactly is this over, Roman? When you get your leverage on Sokolov, when Sentinel stops hunting me, or when my sister and I are 6 feet under because you miscalculated, it's over when I say it's over. That's not good enough. They were inches apart. Arya could feel the heat radiating off him, could smell gunpowder and expensive cologne. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Roman's phone buzzed. He pulled back, checking the message, and his expression shifted from anger to something worse. Concern. Victor just sent an update. Lily's not at Jessica's house. The friend's mother says the girls had a fight yesterday. Lily left and hasn't been back since. Arya's heart stopped. Then where is she? I don't know. But if we don't find her in the next 3 hours, Sentinel will. Arya grabbed her jacket. I know where she is. There's a place we used to go when our father was deployed. An old church in Roxbury. St. Catherine's. It's been abandoned for years, but Lily used to hide there when things got bad at home. You sure? She's 16 and scared. She goes somewhere familiar. Somewhere she felt safe as a kid. Arya was already moving toward the door. I'm going. With or without your permission. Roman grabbed his own jacket and a set of car keys. Then we go together. But if this is a trap, it's not a trap. It's my sister. They were halfway to the elevator when Roman's head of security, a massive man named Dmitri, intercepted them. Boss, we have a situation. Someone just breached the south entrance. 2 casualties. They're inside the building. Roman pulled his gun. How many? At least 6. They're heading for the 3rd floor. For this office. Arya felt ice spread through her veins. They followed us here. No, Roman said, his voice grim. They were already here. Waiting. Gunfire erupted from somewhere below them. Automatic weapons. Close range. The sound of men shouting in English and Russian. Roman grabbed Arya's arm and pulled her back toward his office. We need to go. Now, there's a private exit through the window behind his desk exploded inward. Glass rained down like diamonds. Arya hit the floor on instinct, covering her head. When she looked up, 3 men in tactical gear were rappelling through the shattered window, weapons trained on them. Roman fired twice. Dropped one. The other 2 returned fire, forcing him behind the desk. Arya rolled, grabbed the second gun Roman had left on the desk, and fired at the man closest to her. Sittermass. He went down. The 3rd man swung his rifle toward her. She was out of position. No cover. The angle was wrong. This was it. Then Roman threw himself in front of her. 2 shots hit him in the chest. He grunted, stumbled backward, and collapsed. Roman! Arya screamed. The gunman advanced, finger on the trigger. Arya raised her weapon, but she knew she was too slow. He had her. The shot came from the doorway. The gunman's head snapped back, and he dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Standing in the doorway was a woman. 50-something. Silver hair pulled back tight, wearing a business suit and holding a smoking pistol with the casual ease of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. Hello, Arya, the woman said. Your father spoke about you often. I'm Colonel Patricia Vance. I worked with him at Sentinel. Arya kept her gun trained on the woman. If you worked with him, then you know he's dead because of Sentinel. I know he's dead because he tried to expose something he didn't fully understand. Vance stepped over the dead gunman, her eyes never leaving Arya. And I know you have his insurance policy. The drive. I need it, so you can bury the evidence like everyone else. So I can finish what he started. Vance's expression was hard. Your father and I were working together, Arya. He trusted me with half the puzzle. You have the other half. Give me the drive, and I can bring down everyone involved. Sentinel, Sokolov, the entire network. Behind her, Roman was groaning, moving. The bullets had hit his vest. He was hurt but alive. Arya's mind was spinning. Her father had never mentioned Patricia Vance. Never said anything about working with anyone at Sentinel. You're lying, Arya said. Am I? Then explain how I knew you'd be here. Explain how I knew about the drive. Explain how I just saved your life. You could have learned all that from interrogating someone. From hacking phones. From. From your father's last message. Vance interrupted. She pulled out her own phone and played an audio file. Aria's blood turned to ice as her father's voice filled the room. Patricia, if you're hearing this, I'm already dead. I need you to find Aria. Protect her. She has the evidence. The full picture. Don't trust anyone at Sentinel except Patricia Vance. She's the only one who. The message cut off. Aria felt tears burning her eyes. Her father's voice. His trust. He sent you to protect me, she whispered. I've been trying, Vance said. But you went underground so deep, I couldn't find you. Until tonight. Until Roman Volkov got involved and made enough noise that I could track you down. Roman had pulled himself up, leaning against the desk. Blood was seeping through his shirt, but he was conscious. Alert. So what now? He rasped. We all join hands and take down the big bad corporation. Now, Vance said, we get Lily to safety. Then we decrypt the drive. Then we burn Sentinel to the ground. And Sokolov. Roman pressed. Sokolov is mine, Vance said coldly. He killed good soldiers. Betrayed his country. He doesn't get to walk away. Aria looked between them. The Mafia boss who wanted leverage. The colonel who wanted justice. And her, caught in the middle with a sister who was missing in 48 hours that had become minutes. Fine, Aria said. We work together. But first we find Lily. Then we'll talk about the drive. Vance nodded. St. Catherine's in Roxbury. I know the place. My team is already en route. Aria's stomach dropped. How did you? Because I've been tracking your sister since yesterday. I knew she'd run. Knew where she'd go. She's safe, Aria. She's with my people. Relief and suspicion warred in Aria's chest. Prove it. Vance pulled up a photo on her phone. Lily, sitting in the back of an SUV, looking scared but unharmed. Timestamp, 20 minutes ago. She's at a secure location. Waiting for you. Vance extended her hand. Now give me the drive and let's finish this. Aria's hand went to the USB drive around her neck. Roman's voice cut through the moment. Don't. Both women looked at him. That drive is the only leverage keeping Aria alive, Roman said, pushing himself upright despite the pain. The moment you hand it over, you become expendable. To Vance. To Sentinel. To everyone. Vance's expression hardened. I'm trying to help her. You're trying to use her. Just like everyone else. Roman locked eyes with Aria. Don't trust anyone. Not even me. But definitely not someone who conveniently shows up right when things go sideways. Aria stood there, the drive burning against her chest, two people demanding her trust, and somewhere out there, her sister waiting. She made her choice. Take me to Lily, she said to Vance. Right now, I see her safe with my own eyes, then we talk about the drive. Vance smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Fair enough. Let's go. But as they headed for the elevator, Aria caught Roman's expression. He was staring at Vance with the focused intensity of someone who'd just recognized a threat. And Aria realized with cold certainty that someone was lying. She just didn't know who. The SUV smelled like leather and gunpowder. Aria sat in the back between Roman and Vance, her hand on the Glock tucked into her waistband. Nobody spoke. They were heading toward Roxbury. 5 minutes out, Aria's phone buzzed. A video message. Unknown number. She hit play. Lily's face filled the screen. Crying, mascara running, zip-tied to a chair in a warehouse. Behind her stood a masked man in tactical gear. Aria, Lily sobbed. They said if you don't give them what they want. The video cut off. Aria looked at Vance. Then at the phone showing the photo of Lily safe in an SUV. When was that photo really taken? Aria asked, voice deadly calm. Vance didn't answer. When? 3 days ago, Vance admitted. Before we lost track of her. Roman laughed bitterly. You never had her. Pull over. Now. The driver hesitated. Aria pressed her gun against Vance's ribs. Pull over or I put a bullet through your spine. The SUV stopped. Industrial area. Abandoned factories. No witnesses. Get out, Aria commanded. They climbed out. Aria kept her weapon trained on Vance. You're making a mistake, Vance said. I'm the only person who can help you. You lied about my sister. Who are you really? Vance smiled. I'm the person your father was going to expose before I killed him. The words hit like a physical blow. His car didn't explode because of Sentinel. Vance continued coldly. I planted the device. Your father figured out I was selling intelligence to Sokolov. He was going to ruin everything, so I removed him. Just like I'll remove you if you don't hand over that drive. Aria's vision went red. Every muscle screamed to pull the trigger. Where's my sister? Give me the drive, and I'll tell you. Tell me, or I shoot your driver, then you. Vance showed her phone. A countdown timer. 23 minutes remaining. If I don't enter a code, the men holding Lily execute her. The drive? Now. Don't do it, Roman said quietly. She kills you both anyway. Location first, Arya demanded, or I destroy it right now. Vance's control cracked. Pier 17. Container 4427. 2 guards. Now give me the drive. 21 minutes. Arya handed it over. Vance's fingers closed around it. Your father died, believing he was a hero. He was just naive. Goodbye, Arya. She turned to walk away. Arya shot her in the leg. Vance screamed, went down hard. The driver reached for his weapon, but Roman was faster. 2 shots. The driver collapsed. Arya crouched next to Vance, took her phone and a USB drive from her pocket. Except when she looked at it, her blood ran cold. Wrong drive. Looking for this? Roman held up the real USB drive. I switched it in the office when I shielded you. You didn't think I'd let you hand over our only leverage? Pier 17, Arya said. 19 minutes. They took Vance's SUV and pushed it hard. Reached the pier with 11 minutes to spare. 2 guards outside the container. Roman and Arya moved together. 2 shots. Both guards dropped. Arya shot the lock off and yanked the door open. Lily was inside, zip-tied, tape over her mouth. But alive. Arya rushed forward, cut her free. I'm here. You're safe. We need to move, Roman said from the doorway. Then sirens. Dozens of them. Every direction. Police cars swarmed the pier, blocking every exit. Officers poured out, weapons drawn. FBI, drop your weapons. A woman in a dark suit stepped forward, badge high. Arya Wells. Roman Volkov. I'm Agent Sarah Chun. Colonel Vance is in custody and talking. Your father was my confidential informant before he died. Arya's world tilted. My father was working with the FBI? With me specifically. When he died, the case stalled. Until tonight. Agent Chun held out her hand. The drive, please. Roman pulled it out and handed it over. Sokolov, Roman said. I want him. Already in Russian custody. He'll die in prison. Chun looked at Roman. You have a choice. Cooperate with our investigation or join him. Roman smiled. I'll cooperate. For now. Chun turned to Arya. Your father's evidence will bring down the largest military fraud operation in history. He'll be remembered as a hero. He already was, Arya said quietly. 6 months later, Arya stood on a California beach watching Lily play volleyball with new friends. New names. New lives. Her phone rang. Unknown number. It's Roman. I have business in San Diego next month. Maybe we could get coffee. Arya looked at Lily laughing in the sunshine. Safe. Happy. Free. Maybe, she said. If you're buying, I always buy. That's how I know you're worth the investment. He hung up. Arya walked down to join Lily on the beach. The waitress who'd stood calm during a robbery was gone. The soldier who'd saved her sister had retired. But some scars went too deep to ever fully heal. And somewhere in Boston, Roman Volkov was thinking the exact same thing. What did you think? Did Arya make the right choice? Every week. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes